Hi, and welcome back to the third episode of the Elsewhere story. The last episode ended on a bit of a low note, but today I'd like to talk about 2019 and how it ended on a high note. I grew up with dreams of being a filmmaker, and I got myself an education and moved to a city where I heard film dreams could come true. And by the end of the year, the pressure from other people's expectations toward me had become so great that I had become more and more ill. First physically, then mentally. I needed air and I needed help. So I started seeing a psychiatrist, and it made me realize that I needed to go back to my hometown and look the past in the eyes and create myself a new future. In January 2019, I spent time with my family. I was staying at a guest house at my mom's place while I was looking for an apartment. I made some commercials for my big sister, who had two companies, Raw Roots and Dreadhead Shop. And then I made a commercial for Herning Writing Club, where my little sister had now become the manager. And I found a desk at an office space in a place called Innovatorium, just in the outskirts of Herning. Here I met a lot of people who were starting their own companies, like me, and we learned a lot from each other. I had plans for a company, and I had plans for some films I wanted to make. But I needed more than a camera, a tripod, and a desk if I wanted to make films. So I went to work. In February, I found myself an apartment in Kibik, just outside my hometown, and I rented a car when I had to drive out and shoot. I no longer received unemployment checks, so I was now really independent. If I didn't get clients, I couldn't afford food and I couldn't maintain a roof over my head. And I realized the need wasn't great for film production or commercial production or online video in Herning. Maybe these weren't the best circumstances to be in, considering that I was just coming out of stress and a major depression. But now I had found a purpose with my life. I wanted to help as many people as possible with the thing I felt I was good at. But if I wanted to do that, it was over sitting here in the darkness with my social anxiety. I had to get out and show myself. My first commercial gig in Innovatorium was for an IT company called Midwest IT, who wanted a video for their website. And with the money from that video, I could buy sound equipment for the next job. Then the company Zen Media put up a meeting between Elsewhere and a very cozy restaurant, which was called Restaurant Søgården, Elsewhere's first returning customer, which saved Elsewhere's entire spring. And with the money from those jobs, I could buy new LED lamps for the next job, and so on and so on. Then I received a phone call from an organization called LOBPA, who wanted to make a promotion video for their new initiative.
Jeg hedder Carla.
And in March, I started filming a corporate portrait for Restaurant Søgården, while I worked on getting new deals with new clients.
Til man forlader stedet igen, der har det været en god oplevelse hele vejen igennem.
And one of my neighbors in the office space called Katarina wanted Elsewhere to make another corporate video of her company, Betterment. Also at Innovatorium, I was at a meeting with the board where I met a man called Preben. He was CEO of a big local company called Projektas, so I asked him for advice as to who I could contact He said that I could try to contact a local artist named Quang, so I wrote Quang an email. During the rest of the spring and into the summer, I spent time filming short films with some of my best childhood buddies, while also filming new footage for social media and contacting places I've dreamed of filming. The jobs were far between, so was the meals, but I was managing. I knew just enough about business to keep my own business afloat. It was time for the next step, to write fiction and to write the Elsewhere story, which you're looking at right now. And it was time for a new challenge, to be a mentor for a new generation. I had received a lot of emails from a lot of young people who were really passionate about film, but only one person had sent me a video job application.
Halløj til alle dem, der sidder og ser den her video på Facebook og LinkedIn. Jeg hedder Mads, og det her er en video, som er en del af en ansøgning, hvor jeg fortæller lidt mere om, hvor det er, jeg er lige nu, og hvad det er, jeg laver i min fritid, og hvorfor det er, at jeg gerne vil ansættes i jeres firma, og hvad I kan bruge mig til.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think I can hear Mads on the stairs right now. Welcome, Mads.
Thank you, Niklas.
Nice to have you and welcome to Elsewhere. Can you start off by telling us, how did you find Elsewhere?
Well, the way I found Elsewhere was through many job application sites. Since my childhood, I actually wanted to make a lot of movies because I'd seen a lot of it in the cinema and having very great experiences with it. So I decided that I wanted to go on one of these educations called the Movie and Television Production Technician Education. And through all that, I found Elsewhere as an unknown production company at the time. When I had seen the homepage for Elsewhere, I was kind of surprised to see it was very well made. So when I stepped into his offices, I was incredibly surprised that he was the only one to greet me there. And at the same time, I was also intrigued about this unknown history of his company, as well as he was very willing to listen to the dreams that I had. And that's why I am sitting here today.
Going into August, there wasn't a lot to do, so I spent most of my time making a show reel and developing a YouTube channel and recording new content for the YouTube channel. Also, Quang was a very busy man, so we had to get all logistics in order. So we had to structure our shooting around his busy schedule. And not that long after our conversation, I wrote up a contract for Mads to become an intern.
The very first thing that I did when I started up at Elsewhere as an intern was to film around in my hometown, which in my case is Silkeborg, to show the place where I come from.
And by this time, me and Quang still had meetings and we were getting closer to what we actually wanted to do with that art project we were talking together about.
While Niklas was editing this project, I was busy with some other recordings that he had made for a local festival in Herning called New Breed. There was a lot of bands there, and I had to edit some of this footage which Niklas had filmed of these bands. And so I created some small promotional films for each of these bands.
Me and Quang had to find a way to make this film for basically nothing. All I had was the camera that I had bought from my half of the money from the Jesper documentary. And I had a tripod, I had some lights, and I had 2 microphones and a slider. That is what we had, and that is what we had to make a whole movie with. Quang had been very helpful at helping us acquire customers. Meanwhile, we were doing this very time-consuming art project with him. So Mads was editing and I was out filming for a project called Art for Everyone in Copenhagen. We had a shooting day where we arrived at Quang in the morning to film him and his family. Then we proceeded to a local store where Quang bought some painting equipment. Then we went to Herning Airport where Quang had rented a helicopter from one of his friends, which we then went up in and filmed some aerial shots of Herning. After that, we proceeded to Ankerfjord Hospice in West Denmark. And there Quang met up with one of his friends called Kenneth, who had terminal cancer. And Quang brought me along because Kenneth and Quang wanted to make an art project for charity. And I made a short video of Quang's project of honoring Kenneth, which we called Happy Time. I was editing the Happy Time video for Quang and Kenneth while I was shooting new material for the film itself. And as I was busy with the Quang film, you also had a new assignment.
Yes, I noticed that Nicholas was clearly interested in me having this internship with him, and he was also considering making a contract with me to be there as an actual intern for the next 5 years. So I came up with this idea to document all these experiences that I would have throughout the time that I was at Elsewhere, and of course also at the Media College Denmark. And that idea evolved into a concept I then decided to call Journey of a Small Filmmaker. And that concept evolved into a series which I now upload on YouTube.
And so we reached December 2019. All the focus had shifted towards finishing the Quang movie because we had gotten a theater to show it in. So I had to edit an entire movie in a month before the premiere. During that month, I got a call from By Summer, who was developing the trolls that Kenneth and Quang made an art piece out of for charity. They saw our charity video and wanted 2 videos about their happy trolls. And you were about to start in school, and we were about to release a movie. What could go wrong? Follow us next time where we will talk about 2020.